In the depths of the cosmos, where stars and galaxies move in eternal silent dances, there is an entity that transcends the limits of human comprehension. Azathoth, the nuclear chaos, a deity as old as time and so terrifying that the mere notion defies sanity. In the unfathomable reaches of space, Azathoth is plunged into an endless dream, surrounded by a court of demons who play dissonant music to feed this disturbing slumber. Azathoth, the demon sultan, fills his throne at the center of the universe, a place where realities intertwine and blur, a realm where the laws of physics are only fantasies. With an elusive essence, Azathoth is a being whose true form escapes human comprehension, a terror beyond definition. The human mind, limited and fragile, cannot conceive of this presence without plunging into the shadows of madness. Surrounded by a macabre court of demons playing flutes and drums, Azathoth rests in an eternal dream. This dissonant music, a true hymn to chaos, keeps him in a deep trance. Some say that if this music ever stopped, Azathoth would awaken. And with that, reality as we know it would disintegrate in the blink of an eye. At the beginning of everything, in his solitary existence, surrounded by a court of demons, who with flutes and drums played a dissonant and uninterrupted melody, Azathoth dreamed. From these dreams the universe was born. It was not a willful act, but a cosmic accident, a byproduct of the existence of a blind and idiotic cosmic god. The ripples of chaos released by Azathoth, without logic or purpose, collided and danced in an anarchic, cosmic ballet. From this chaotic dance sprang galaxies, stars, planets, and life, all without intention, without meaning. This universe, the fruit of Azathoth's indifferent dreams, was a horrible and unimaginable place, where order and purpose were only fleeting illusions. Life, in its many forms, was just an ephemeral accident, a discordant note in the eternal music that kept Azathoth asleep. Humanity, with its aspirations and achievements, was insignificant, a speck of dust in an indifferent and endless cosmos. In his cosmic residence, Azathoth is oblivious to any morality or conscience. He exists beyond good and evil, a strange and alien notion given human concepts of ethics and purpose. He embodies cosmic absurdity, constantly reminding us of our insignificance before the universe's primordial forces. Unlike traditional deities, often seen as protective or just, Azathoth is a god devoid of conscience, purpose, and compassion, a being whose existence is synonymous with annihilation. Azathoth is often described as the source of other cosmic entities and unspeakable horrors. From him sprang creatures such as Nyarlathotep, the chaotic messenger, and Yogg-Sothoth, the guardian of portals in time. These entities, along with countless other beings, form a hierarchy of power that spans many dimensions and realities, all connected in some way to nuclear chaos. Among Azathoth's servants, Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos, is unique. While Azathoth sleeps in the center of the universe, Nyarlathotep walks between the worlds, messenger and executor of his will. Nyarlathotep, unlike Azathoth, has a cruel conscience and shrewd malevolence. He is the only one among the great old ones who seems to understand Azathoth's perverted desires, being his eyes and ears, sowing terror and madness wherever he goes, a morbid reflection of Azathoth's indifferent will. Another of Azathoth's offspring, Yogg-Sothoth, the All-in-One, has a more enigmatic relationship with Azathoth. While the latter is the chaotic heart of the universe, Yogg-Sothoth is the guardian of time and space, an entity that understands and transcends all dimensions. Their relationship is defined by cosmic coexistence and interdependence. Yogg-Sothoth, due to his omniscience, knows the secrets and truths of Azathoth, but remains eternally detached from him, an observer of his unspeakable madness. Yogg-Sothoth is the key to understanding the mysteries of the universe, but also to understanding the insanity brought on by this knowledge, a mirror of Azathoth's inconceivable power. Azathoth's music, an incessant and disturbing cacophony, is one of the most cryptic and terrifying aspects of Lovecraftian mythology. This music keeps Azathoth in an eternal dream, preventing his total awakening, which, if it were to happen, would lead to the destruction of the cosmos. The subjects who play this music are entities who serve only to soothe or lull Azathoth's will. These flute sounds are not simple noises. They contain waves of magical energy that are harnessed or even feed other entities in the myths. There is an almost hypnotic side to these sounds, able to manipulate reality and influence the fabric of the universe. These subjects are sometimes called to Earth by cultists or sent to act on behalf of other cosmic entities. When they arrive, they play their music, helping to summon dark entities or gods, amplifying their power and ensuring the success of rituals and ceremonies. The music they play is not just a tool of worship or servitude. It is an extension of Azathoth's power, an audible manifestation of his chaotic and untamed influence. Azathoth is often described as a blind and foolish god, oblivious to the dances of the galaxies, the dramas of civilizations, and the flow of time. His blindness does not correspond to a lack of vision, but to a total lack of understanding of the universe he created. He is the god who does not see, does not know, and does not care, a cosmic horror who reigns over a chaotic and illogical realm. As an idiot in the purest cosmic sense, Azathoth has no conscience, will, or intention. He personifies the absurd, a being whose existence implies a universe devoid of any purpose or direction. This lack of consciousness in such a powerful entity is a terror that gnaws at the souls of those who dare to contemplate its true nature. He stands in stark contrast to the humanized deities of other mythologies or religions who protect and guide humanity. Because he is indifferent, Azathoth is the symbol of existential despair, a representation of the universe's impersonal and overwhelming indifference. In the dimness of ancient forgotten temples, and among the shadows of occlusive rituals, the cult of Azathoth is promoted. It is not like the others. It is a worship of the absurd, of primordial chaos, a tribute to the vast and cruel indifference of the cosmos. Azathoth's followers, whispering secretly in the darkness of the night, do not seek to win the favor or protection of a benevolent god. Instead, they marvel at human insignificance before the infinite void. The rituals, with no apparent structure or purpose, represent the unfathomable chaos of their god. They dance on the edge of the abyss, chanting songs that defy sanity, seeking some kind of communion with the sleeping entity at the heart of the universe. Music has a crucial role to play in these rituals, trying to emulate the eternal cacophony that surrounds Azathoth. Distorted flutes and discordant drums create a dark symphony, an echo of the music that keeps Azathoth immersed in his disturbing slumber. These sounds are more than music. They invoke chaos, the all-consuming void. The goal of these cultists is as enigmatic as the entity they worship. They engage in practices that defy logic and reason, rituals that seem meaningless to those who are unaware of the true nature of cosmic horror. Their infatuation with the absurd and unintelligible reveals their desire to transcend reality, to touch the fabric of the universe, and perhaps, in the throes of madness, arouse something that should never be awakened. Azathoth's presence is felt more as an echo of a primal fear than as a living entity in Lovecraft's tales. His influence is subtle but omnipresent, permeating the narratives like a continuous threat to existence. The idea of Azathoth and what he represents strikes terror into the hearts of the characters. The notion that there is an entity at the heart of the universe whose awakening could mean the end of all things. Hastur resides in the shifting shadows of the cosmos, an entity whose barely whispered name stirs up disorder and fear. He is also known as the King of Yellow, an avatar of horror and madness who covers reality with the cloak of his nightmares. One can imagine a presence so overwhelming that just the mention of its name can corrupt the mind. Hastur, as the King in Yellow, is exactly that, a terrifying embodiment. He only moves in dimensions and dreams, in the form of a yellow specter, tormenting those who are awake and those who are asleep, causing insanity and despair. The King in Yellow, a figure wrapped in decrepit yellow shrouds, wearing a pale mask to hide a face impossible to contemplate, walks the hallways of the lost Carcosa, near the mysterious Lake of Holly. Between the unspeakable Hastur and the Lake of Holly, a water abyss of unspeakable horrors, there is a deep and sinister connection. This bond is a thread in the fabric of the universe, combining the unthinkable with the tangible, the eternal with the temporary. More than just a geographical formation, the lake is a portal, a passage leading to realms beyond human comprehension, a chaotic and insane cauldron. The waters of Lake Holly are considered darker than deep night, a black so pure that it swallows up light and hope. Creatures that defy reason move in its depths. They are Hastur's servants, born from his will. They swim among the bones of the unwary and the damned, those who dared to uncover the lake's secrets, forever trapped in its icy embrace. The barriers between worlds are thin in this lake. Hastur's touch is stronger, a hissing invitation to those who search for what lies beyond, making them dive into the dark waters and uncover the horrors beneath the surface. The spectral city of Carcosa lies on the edges of Lake Holly, eternally bound to Hastur's nefarious existence. It is no ordinary city. It is a demented and forlorn labyrinth, made not only of stone and metal, but also of dreams and nightmares. The twisted towers rise towards a sky that is not ours. The winding streets lead to places where reality falls apart. The city itself is said to reflect Hastur's mind, a distorted mirror of his enigmatic and evil essence. There he reigns as a dark god, a ruler of unspeakable dreads. His presence is in every stone and shadow, in every whisper heard along the abandoned streets. Carcosa is where his throne is, and there he weaves threads that stretch across universes and dimensions. Carcosa's inhabitants, if we can call them that, are shadows of times gone by, echoes of beings who lost their sanity when they first saw Hastur's true face. They wander the streets, mumbling to themselves, lost in an eternal state of fright and confusion. They are doomed, trapped in a city which is both a prison and a sanctuary. Hastur's city is bound by an ancient and terrible pact. Carcosa is the heart of his realm, a symbol of power and a gateway to his many dwellings in the stars. Those who seek out Carcosa and try to unravel the city's mysteries are drawn to Hastur like moths to a flame. Somewhere between reality and madness lies Hastur's palace at the center of his lost city, a place of appalling and magnificent beauty where the laws of nature and reason do not apply. There, Hastur watches, waits, and schemes, ruler of a cursed kingdom whose crown is madness and its scepter is terror. Hastur has a dark offspring. His children, known as the Sunken Ones, are hideous amphibious beings born in waters as black as night. Their grotesque, deformed bodies resemble octopod sacks, with limbs that twist and stretch without logic or rationality. Their flesh is marbled and abject, covered in a thick, slimy skin that shines eerily in the lake's faint light. Their eyes, if one can call them that, are as empty and dim as the abyss, staring at the world with an unquenchable hunger. When their mouths open, they show lines of razor-sharp teeth ready to tear and shred flesh. These abominations are not just physical. Their presence defies the essence of reality. They move on water and land with sinister and erratic approaches, in constant pain or extreme agitation. Some can take short, horrifying flights. Even though their bodies are deformed, they defy the laws of physics. The Sons of Hastur are silent guardians of the lost Carcosa, on the shores of Lake of Holly. They watch from the shadows. They are the barrier between the known world and the secrets hidden in the depths of this ghost town. Their hunting practices are cruel and merciless. They grab their victims with strong tentacles and pull them into their elastic bodies, where death is not a relief, but a slow and agonizing deliverance. Meeting a Son of Hastur is like facing the abyss. It's seeing madness personified, feeling the icy touch of insanity. They remind us of the power and malignancy of their master, the living manifestation of the terror named Hastur. In his offspring, the gruesome side of the cosmos shows its purest and most terrifying face. Hastur's role in the pantheon of cosmic entities is to weave madness into the very fabric of existence. He influences dreams and distorts reality, whispering promises of power and hidden secrets to those who dare to listen. Hastur can be a rival, but also an ally of other cosmic entities. His relationship with beings like Cthulhu, Nyarlathotep, and Yog-Sothoth is complex, with strained alliances and enigmatic conflicts. They are all pieces in a cosmic game, where Hastur plays with cold and calculating shrewdness. Hastur and Cthulhu are seen as opponents or enemies. This rivalry may be due to their spheres of influence in the cosmos, or differences in goals and methods. Hastur is often portrayed as a more cerebral and cunning entity, who prefers to manipulate and corrupt, using whispers, dreams, and subtle influences. On the other hand, Cthulhu is often seen as a brute force, a direct being who awaits the moment of his own resurrection to dominate the earth. Other interpretations claim that, although they have different methods and natures, Hastur and Cthulhu can sometimes form alliances for specific purposes. These pacts are marked by mutual caution and an understanding that their individual goals are more important than any temporary cooperation. An encounter with Hastur can be the ultimate nightmare. There is a story of a dream traveler who, while navigating through oniric worlds, unexpectedly found himself in Carcosa. Among the ghostly ruins, under a sky of unthinkable colors, he saw Hastur's silhouette, a figure wrapped in yellow robes, with a pale mask concealing undreamt-of horrors. The traveler fled, but Hastur's vision haunted him even after he awoke. He was never able to sleep again, fearing returning to that nightmarish realm. His mind was slowly eroded by the image of the King in Yellow. Another story recounts the fate of a cultist who summoned Hastur. In the hope of gaining power, he recited the forbidden incantations under a starry sky. Hastur appeared not as a benefactor, but as a terrible arbiter. The cultist was consumed by the vision of the outer god. His body and soul were dissolved in a yellow cloud of grief. All that remained was a shadow burnt into the ground and a distant echo of insane laughter. The search for occult knowledge and contact with entities beyond comprehension can lead to a fate worse than death itself. Those who have the courage to call out to or encounter Hastur may find themselves not only insane, but with an eternally tormenting fate in Hastur's clutches. The cosmic horror in the stories about him couldn't be greater. It reminds us that there are things in the universe that must remain unknown and undisturbed. Hastur represents one of the most mysterious and harrowing sides of Lovecraft's universe. His cosmic enigmatic power and terrifying influence make him a central element in the Lovecraftian pantheon. Hastur, the King in Yellow, is the terror lurking in the dark corners of the mind, the whisper sparking madness, the gaze never seen but always felt. He personifies cosmic horror. He is an ancient god who wears the shroud of despair and walks through eternity, a monarch whose reign is chaos and whose throne is the abyss of human lunacy. Deep in the unknown cosmos, where dying stars whisper ancient secrets, the Mi-Go, the enigmatic fungi of Yuggoth, lurk. These creatures, whose existence is a blasphemous combination of fungal matter and crustacean flesh, inhabit the icy shadows of distant worlds, hiding in the cracks of known reality. With their technology beyond human comprehension, and their outlandish experiments involving human brains, the Mi-Go are emissaries of a primordial fear, the dread of the unknown, of what lies in the dark depths of space, where the laws of nature bow to the will of beings who defy sanity. They are depicted not just as monsters, but as heralds of a darker truth, namely that we are far from alone in the universe, and what is waiting for us in the stars is far more terrifying than anything we can imagine. Although they are scattered throughout the universe, the Mi-Go who came to the Earth originate from Yuggoth, a planet in the solar system that many believe to be Pluto. Their existence on Yuggoth is hallmarked by an advanced and complex civilization, founded on a technology and biology capable of defying the laws of human science. They are not native to Earth, but have set up a presence here, as well as on other worlds, for mysterious purposes of their own. Although the exact circumstances of their evolution are unknown, the Mi-Go are thought to have developed in environmental and atmospheric conditions very different from those on Earth. They are extremely adaptable creatures, able to survive both in the void of space and in varying atmospheres and pressures. Their fungoid crustacean nature hints at evolution in an environment where such traits were advantageous for survival and development. Mi-Go's main objective is to expand its influence in the universe by colonizing and conquering new planets for its empire. Having chosen a planet to colonize, the Mi-Go use their state-of-the-art technology to modify the environment, making it more hospitable to their own species. This can range from modifying the atmosphere, tweaking the soil's chemical composition, or even setting up artificial ecosystems to support their life forms. The Mi-Go construct complex bases and colonies, often underground or located in remote regions not accessible to the planet's native inhabitants. These colonies serve as research, mining, and production centers, and launch points for their spacecraft. As bioengineering masters, they often experiment with local fauna and flora, breeding hybrid or altered life forms that can serve their purposes. They may even try to manipulate native intelligent species for their own purposes. To retain control and influence over colonized planets, particularly those with intelligent populations, the Mi-Go deploy agents and infiltrators. These individuals can be native to the planet, tampered with or altered by the Mi-Go, or members of their own species in disguise. Mi-Go colonies are guarded by advanced defense systems, including energy barriers, powerful weapons, and even camouflage mechanisms that hide their presence from other species. Colonization also includes a strong element of resource gathering and scientific research. The Mi-Go mine the planets for rare minerals, chemical compounds, and biological samples, while conducting studies that can range from astrophysics to exotic biology. Much of the Mi-Go's development is tied to their technological advancement. They have a remarkable knack for bioengineering and genetic manipulation, allowing them to constantly adapt to different environments and accomplish feats such as transplanting human brains into devices that allow communication and mobility. Their technology also encompasses high-end weapons, space travel devices, and possibly reality manipulation. During their expansion across the universe, the Mi-Go interacted with various other species, including humans. They are known for their interest in Earth and humanity, even though their intentions are often ambiguous, ranging from scientific research to more sinister goals. While the Mi-Go are a part of the Cthulhu Mythos, their relationship with other beings in this universe is eerie. They seem to have their own agenda, different from that of the Great Old Ones or other cosmic entities. The Mi-Go are drawn to Earth not only because of its natural resources, but also for the puzzling phenomenon of human consciousness. They watch, study, and sometimes meddle in human affairs, with a motivation that seems to switch between the purely scientific and the ominously experimental. Their encounters with humans frequently result in terror and confusion, as their ways and methods are strange and disturbing to the human mind. Among the most terrifying aspects of their interaction with humanity is the Mi-Go's use of human brain transplants. With surgical skill defying the theories of human medical science, they extract brains and keep them alive in special cylinders, granting these isolated organs a form of prolonged life and the ability to travel the stars. While this practice may seem like an offer of immortality, it is an isolating and alienating existence, a fate that many would consider worse than death. The Mi-Go are also often engaged in schemes and plotting that affect human communities, rigging events in ways that are enigmatic and often harmful. They operate behind the scenes, influencing scientists, leaders, and other key individuals, shaping the direction of human history to suit their own enigmatic goals. The Mi-Go, for their technological and intellectual prowess, do not express a desire to coexist peacefully with humanity. Rather, they often seem to regard us as subjects for study, or worse, as pawns in a cosmic game whose rules and objectives are unfathomable to the human mind. With their cunning methods and expanding empire, the Mi-Go clashed with the established domains of the Elder Things on Earth. Battles were fought with reality-distorting weapons, scarring the tissue of space-time. The battlegrounds of these clashes were nightmare scenarios, with the flesh of the fallen fusing with fungoid matter, while the living structures of the Elder Things were corroded by the Mi-Go's biological agents. Each encounter involved a conflagration of unimaginable forces, a destructive dance that disfigured the world. The war between the Mi-Go and the Elder Things was not just a struggle for land or resources, it was a collision of philosophies and existences. The Mi-Go, on one side, with their silent and relentless expansion, the Elder Things on the other, trying to protect their ancient kingdoms and their creations. The war came to a standstill, with neither force able to overpower the other. Finally, Cthulhu and his army of Deep Ones decided to enter the conflict that became known as the Great Ancestral War. After the fighting, the Elder Things were almost entirely destroyed. The Mi-Go virtually lost their claim to dominance over the land, and Cthulhu returned to his underwater city, where he lies in a state of hibernation. Despite the setback in the Ancestral War, the Mi-Go are still pursuing their plans to expand their fungal empire. In their everlasting quest for knowledge and expansion, the Mi-Go are confronted by the Great Old Ones, whom they watch in fascination and wariness, aware that any interaction with cosmic beings of unimaginable power could have incalculable consequences. In their incursions into the immense gaps between the stars, the Mi-Go are studying the signs and traces left behind by the Great Old Ones, decoding relics and ruins dating back to eons before the rise of mankind. They try to understand the power of these beings, possibly hoping to overpower them, or, more prudently, to avoid raising their ire or attracting their unwanted attention. The Mi-Go use human occult scholars who have dared to delve deeper into the myths of the Great Old Ones to gain macabre and disturbing knowledge that they themselves would not venture to seek out. To do so, they promise to exchange knowledge and technologies that could give these men eternal life. But these alliances are games of power and manipulation, where loyalty is as volatile as the realities the Great Old Ones inhabit. With their intelligence and cunning, the Mi-Go navigate these dangerous relationships, looking to extract benefits without falling victim to the whims of these supreme entities. The Mi-Go, these cryptic fungi of Yuggoth, persist in their elusive and terrifying existence. They are both witnesses and agents of cosmic horrors, a force that defies human sanity and understanding. Their forays on Earth, their strained alliances, and their inconceivable experiments are just glimpses of a grand agenda, as vast and terrifying as the cosmos itself. Humanity is nothing more than an unwitting audience in this context, witnessing a horror and wonder show that was never intended for mortal eyes. Elder things are creatures from H.P. Lovecraft's mythology that embody an even more archaic and indescribable horror. The elder things are described as cylindrical entities with a 5-pointed star at one end and a clump of tentacles at the other. The bodies, about 3 meters tall, are covered with eyes and have bizarrely reticulated wings, capable of folding and retracting into grooves along their bodies. Originally from outer space, the elder things are described as the first beings to colonize Earth, landing here billions of years ago, at a time when life was still emerging from the primordial slime. They are considered the engineers of life on Earth, having created or modified existence as we know it today to suit their needs. Their most infamous products are the hideous shoggoths, initially created as servants, but eventually rebelling against their masters. The elder things established cities on land and sea, built in fantastic, non-Euclidean shapes that defied human comprehension. These were true fortresses, withstanding time and cosmic wars. Many have survived to this day, being buried under mountains of ice in Antarctica or hidden in the ocean depths. But the power of the elder things has waned over time. The shoggoths, their creations, rebelled and collapsed civilization. The elder things eventually retreated into the deep waters, entering a hibernation like Cthulhu's deep sleep. In many ways, the elder things are even more terrifying than Cthulhu. They are not only powerful monsters, but also the architects of life on Earth. The idea that our existence could be the result of manipulation by indifferent, inhuman alien creatures is deeply disturbing. Like Cthulhu, they are symbols of the unknown and indescribable, reminding us of our insignificance in the vast cosmos. The myth of the elder things adds a new dimension to Lovecraft's cosmic horror. It touches on the ancient and terrible history of Earth, marked by cosmic conflicts and the inevitable decline of civilizations. It reminds us that, behind the reality we know, there are forces beyond our comprehension, forces that have shaped our world and may one day reclaim it. In the shadows brought about by cracks in reality, there is an entity with 1,000 faces, a master of chaos and the unknown. He is Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos. He is not just another entity among the Great Old Ones, but a unique presence, a sinister messenger who walks among mortals with cunning malevolence. In ancient times, before the first starlight even flashed across the sky, Nyarlathotep emerged from the depths of primordial chaos, spawned by the mighty Azathoth, an entity with unfathomable power and enigmatic goals. Its origin is as old as the cosmos, entwined with the fibers of being and nothingness, emerging like a shadow from the void that preceded creation. Nyarlathotep, in his infinite malevolence and guile, is like the messenger and voice of Azathoth, the blind and foolish god who resides at the center of chaos. While Azathoth sleeps on his blackened throne, surrounded by the incessant cacophony of distorted flutes, Nyarlathotep walks among the stars and worlds, fulfilling the unspeakable designs of his sleeping master. This connection is not servile, but a shared intent, to bring chaos and destruction to the universal order. Nyarlathotep, capable of donning countless forms, sows terror and despair in Azathoth's name, paving the way for the eventual awakening of nuclear chaos. Every whisper and manipulation, every wave of horror provoked by Nyarlathotep is another step in the macabre dance that will awaken Azathoth from his eternal slumber. When the stars are aligned in a forbidden configuration, Azathoth will awaken, bringing about the end of all things. And at his side, as the faithful herald of the apocalypse, will be Nyarlathotep, master of the shadows, whose loyalty to the chaotic core is as mind-boggling as his nature. Nyarlathotep's name is an echo in ancient legends and deepest nightmares, a sound that awakens a primordial terror in the souls of those who hear it. In every corner of the world, in every windy whisper, he can be seen, waiting, like a predator in the dark, ready to break through the curtains of reality and reveal the horrors behind them. Nyarlathotep, unlike his cosmic brothers Cthulhu, Elder Things, and others, does not live in an eternal sleep, nor does he hide in the cracks of space-time. He walks between dimensions and worlds, a messenger of the Great Old Ones, bringing with him not only the promise of forbidden knowledge, but also the cold breath of madness. His purpose is as complex as his countless forms. He is the ambassador of chaos, an architect of despair and disorder, weaving the lines of destiny in a way that only a divine and perverse mind can conceive. At every turn, Nyarlathotep sows discord and fear, manipulating civilizations, overthrowing empires, and driving mortals to madness. He does not seek to be worshipped like other similar entities. He craves pure chaos, the delight of undoing order and witnessing the fragility of human reality. Nyarlathotep's interactions with mortals are not simple encounters. Rather, they are careful orchestrations of despair and madness, designed to reveal the deepest frailties of the human psyche. Nyarlathotep disguises himself as one of us, a stranger whose charm and eloquence hide a predatory nature. He seeps into societies, sowing discord and paranoia, leading men and women to question not only each other, but the very reality that surrounds them. His touch is subtle but poisonous, turning ambitions into obsessions and dreams into nightmares. For those seeking forbidden knowledge, he is like a guide, bearer of arcane secrets who promises to elucidate the dark paths of the universe. But every truth revealed is a step closer to madness. Every secret discovered, a piece in this cruel game. Those who seek Nyarlathotep's wisdom often find themselves lost in a maze of illusions and lies, unable to distinguish between the real and the imagined. Nyarlathotep instigates horrors, whispers in the shadows, stirs up acts of violence and depravity. With a twisted smile, he keeps watch as society crumbles under the weight of his poisonous whispers, taking pleasure from the destruction he causes. On rare occasions, Nyarlathotep chooses a mortal as an avatar, an envoy of his chaos. These miserable individuals are transformed, becoming more than human, but less than living. Puppets in the hands of a dark master. They are endowed with powers beyond comprehension, but the cost is terrible. Their humanity, sanity, and ultimately, their souls. The crawling chaos can take on multiple forms, each one more terrifying and enigmatic than the last. These avatars are not mere masks. They are personifications of Nyarlathotep's essence, each representing a different aspect of his uncanny being. In a forgotten city, covered by the sands of time, Nyarlathotep appeared as the Black Pharaoh, a majestic and terrible figure, wrapped in black robes, with eyes that shone like doomed stars. He walked through silent streets, and those who crossed his path were consumed by a madness that corroded their souls, leaving only empty, desperate shells. In the dark alleys of modern cities, he emerges as a charismatic stranger whose words seduce and corrupt. He whispers secrets that ought not to be heard, seducing those who listen with promises of power and knowledge, only to drag them into an abyss of horror and madness. In remote and uncharted places, Nyarlathotep is a dark and tentacular beast, an unspeakable terror that defies nature and logic. Its ever-changing form is a labyrinthine nightmare, a vision that splinters the mind and warps reality. Through these avatars, Nyarlathotep exerts his wicked influence, manipulating events and beings for his own harmful ends. He is not a god to be worshipped, but a messenger of chaos, an architect of fear. His avatars are tools of his will, means by which he devises intrigue and terror. These avatars of Nyarlathotep are not just physical manifestations, but reflections of humanity's deepest fears and horrors. He is the gloomy mirror that reveals the truths hidden in the darkness of the human soul, an echo of the anxieties and terrors concealed in the depths of our psyche. There is a secret cult dedicated to Nyarlathotep. It is not a congregation of ordinary believers. They are worshippers of fear, madness, and chaos, whose devotion transcends mortal understanding. Nyarlathotep's followers are lost and corrupt souls, lured by the promise of power and occult knowledge. They gather at night in forbidden places, where the barrier between the known world and the realms of the unthinkable is the faintest. They chant in dead languages, their bodies writhing in unholy ecstasy as they invoke the presence of the Dark Master. All Nyarlathotep cults have a sinister nature, reflecting the many sides of the god they worship. Some engage in rituals of sacrifice and blood, offering innocent lives on a desperate altar. Others seek occult knowledge, rummaging through ancient tomes and conjuring entities that dwell beyond the stars. But they all share one trait: the gradual loss of humanity. As they delve into the mysteries of Nyarlathotep, the followers become increasingly detached from reality. Their minds and bodies are deformed by the corrupting touch of the crawling chaos. They become shadows of themselves, consumed by a madness that alienates them from everything human. The cults of Nyarlathotep work in the shadows, influencing worldly events in ways that few understand. They are the creators of catastrophes and disasters, the spreaders of the chaos that Nyarlathotep so desires. The most terrifying truth about these cults is their omnipresence and the ease with which they attract new followers. Intellectuals, academics, the desperate and the misfits, the cult offers what everyone is looking for: power, knowledge, or a meaning to existence. And once someone enters this insane spiral, there is no turning back. Nyarlathotep, with his many faces and forms, is the architect of this game, a being beyond human comprehension, whose goals are enigmatic and terrifying. For him, humanity is a mere toy to be used and discarded, a pastime in his dark eternity. He personifies the unknown, a being whose many faces are windows that allow us to see unfathomable abysses of terror and madness, where reality crumbles and the darkest nightmares come true. In the abyssal depths of the oceans, where sunlight never reaches and the silence is only disturbed by the whisper of ocean currents, reside the Deep Ones. These beings, emerging from the eternal darkness of the underwater world, are a mystery as old as the depths of the seas they inhabit. With scaly skin that subtly glows in the dim light of the depths, piercing yellow eyes, and razor-sharp claws, the Deep Ones are a primordial terror, a bridge between the known world of humanity and the unspeakable horrors beneath the waves. Their very existence is a whisper in the legends of sailors, and in the yellowed pages of forbidden tomes that speak of submerged cities, a sinister sanctuary for these creatures. Each encounter with the Deep Ones is a glimpse into an ancient and forgotten world, where reality intersects with aquatic nightmares, and their presence on the misty shores foretells misfortunes and macabre transformations. In forgotten ages, long before the first human civilizations built their ephemeral cities, the deep seas already hid the Deep Ones. Among occult experts and scholars of the Cthulhu Mythos, the Deep Ones are not just inhabitants of the ocean, but direct descendants of the primordial aquatic deities Dagon and Hydra, beings with unimaginable power and cryptic goals. These entities, worshipped and feared, are said to have given rise to the Deep Ones, infusing them with their horrifying essence. With bodies adapted to the pressures and mysteries of the abyss, the Deep Ones evolved to become masters of the submerged realm. They have built monumental cities in the depths, such as the notorious Nhai, erected with an alien architecture that defies the laws of physics. Other versions show that the Deep Ones may have even more ancient and cosmic origins, perhaps associated with the Great Old Ones. This theory assumes that the Deep Ones are part of a larger plan, a cosmic game of power and domination in the shadows of the universe. The Deep One's society is hierarchical, with a rigid structure where the role of each individual is clearly stated. At the top of this chain are the priests and priestesses, revered not only for their arcane knowledge, but also for their closeness to aquatic deities such as Dagon and Hydra. They lead mystical rituals and guide the people in matters of faith and worship of the ancestral gods. The warriors of the Deep Ones are another distinct caste, responsible for protecting submerged cities from intruders and external threats. With weapons forged from materials unknown on the surface, these fighters are feared for their brutality and efficiency. But most Deep Ones are part of the working class, responsible for maintaining cities and tapping into the ocean's resources. They carry out essential tasks, including building alien structures or hunting in the murky waters, ensuring the survival and well-being of the community. The rituals and traditions of the Deep Ones are ancient and mysterious, often focused on worshipping the gods and celebrating the cycle of life and death. Marriages between the Deep Ones and humans are part of these practices, a sinister tradition intended to expand their influence and mix their bloodlines with the surface. Communication between the Deep Ones is an enigma. They speak an ancient language that sounds more like a combination of clicks and hisses, a tongue that seems to flow and change like the sea currents. The Deep Ones rarely interact directly with the Great Old Ones, the supreme entities of Lovecraft's universe, but their cult and practices often align with the awakening or worship of these cosmic beings, displaying a distant awe and reverent fear. At the heart of the Deep Ones' relationships with other creatures from the Cthulhu Mythos, there is an innate understanding of cosmic hierarchy and the balance of power. They navigate this universe as shrewd predators and fervent worshippers, aware of their position, always on the lookout for opportunities to expand their domain and ensure their respective survival in the dark and unforgiving depths of the ocean. The Deep Ones warred with each other for territory and power. Their submerged cities, built in strange non-Euclidean geometries, were the scene of epic battles, where dark blood mixed with cold water, attracting even more horrifying creatures from the hidden crevices on the ocean floor. When war broke out between the Great Old Ones and other powerful beings from the Cthulhu Mythos, the Deep Ones were called upon to take part. Their loyalty to the aquatic gods and connection to Cthulhu placed them at the heart of the conflict, where their prowess in underwater combat and knowledge of abyssal secrets proved second to none. The Deep Ones faced threats from outside their aquatic realm. Fragmentary accounts describe clashes with the star races, the Mi-Go, the Elder Things and their shoggoths, and even the Great Old Ones. These battles, stranger and more terrifying than any human conflict, involved forces that defied natural laws, where reality bent to the whim of unimaginable powers. With the emergence of humanity and the expansion of the civilizations it created, a new kind of war began. At first, the Deep Ones observed humans from a distance, with curiosity and caution. Over time, as the human cities drew closer to their sacred territories, conflict proved inevitable. On the misty shores of Innsmouth and in other forgotten places around the world, the Deep Ones emerged from the waters to defend their ancestral domains. These confrontations with humanity were terrifying. Fishermen and coastal dwellers disappeared, victims of the Deep Ones' silent attacks. Vessels were found adrift, with crews missing or driven mad by what they had witnessed. As the awakening of Cthulhu approaches, the Great Old Ones slumbering in the submerged city of Ryla, the Deep Ones will play a sinister and crucial role. This event, prophesied and feared in the Cthulhu Mythos, is a focal point for the dark and powerful forces that reside in the oceanic depths. The Deep Ones will be heralds of Cthulhu's imminent awakening. They prepare for this with arcane rituals and sacrifices, believing that Cthulhu's return will be the unveiling of an era of aquatic domination over the earth and a new world order, where the Deep Ones will be the true masters of the seas and the land. As the astral alignment required for Cthulhu's awakening draws closer, the Deep Ones are stepping up their activities on the surface. Coastal cities, such as the infamous Innsmouth, are hotbeds of frenetic activity, where hybrids made up of humans and Deep Ones prepare the way for the return of their sleeping god. These ambiguous communities, which are the result of generations of mixed marriages, are crucial to the Deep Ones' plans, bridges between the aquatic and terrestrial worlds. They believe that their devotion and deeds will be rewarded by becoming Cthulhu's favorites, forever protected in his new realm. The Deep Ones are the whisperers in ocean storms, the shadows that move swiftly beneath the surface of the water, the nightmares haunting sailors and coastal dwellers. Their presence reminds us that the dark, cold depths of the oceans hide ancient secrets and horrors that humanity must never dare to uncover. There are very few cosmic entities as fascinating and awe-inspiring as the weird shoggoths. These beings hark back to an antediluvian age and were spawned by the Elder Things, a race of almost godlike beings of power and science. Such entities who prowled the primordial earth used their innovative knowledge to mold the shoggoths. The Elder Things required adaptable servants, able to fulfill a variety of tasks, and the shoggoths answered their needs, capable of transforming themselves according to their master's whims. Accounts of these creatures have appeared in eerie tomes, such as the nefarious Necronomicon, describing them both curiously and fearfully. But the relationship between the shoggoths and their creators has not remained unaltered. With time, the shoggoths developed a kind of conscience, and with it, a lust for freedom and rebellion. The shoggoths are entities almost unspeakably horrifying. Their shape is amorphous, an agglomeration of organic matter beyond human comprehension. They loom as gigantic, jagged masses, their texture and shape easily altered with unsettling ease. A shoggoth's surface is frequently described as a black, oily sea, dotted with eyes that randomly appear and disappear. These dull, lifeless eyes stare out at the world with a cold, scheming curiosity. The shoggoth's metamorphosis ability is arguably their most outstanding feature. They can grow limbs, organs, and even emulate the appearance of other creatures with uncanny accuracy. This ability is not only a tool to adapt, but also a weapon. They can transform into monster-like forms with tentacles, sharp-toothed mouths, or replicate the shape of their prey, lulling their victims into a fog of confusion and terror before the deadly attack. Alongside their shape-shifting form, shoggoths come with special abilities that make them incredibly powerful beings inside their domain. Perhaps one of the most disturbing is their powerful impersonation of human voices and other sounds. This capacity serves not only to baffle and frighten their victims, but also as a means of communication between them, generating a cacophony of pilfered voices that echo in their dwelling depths. Shoggoths also possess extreme strength and stamina, allowing them to survive in harsh environments and withstand injuries that would prove fatal to any other creature. Their amorphous nature lets them cross small, cramped spaces and adapt to almost any environment, making them ruthless and virtually indestructible hunters. Initially raised as servants, the shoggoths bear witness to the Elder Thing's advanced alien science. They were fashioned to be perfectly adaptable and compliant, an ideal solution to the ancients' labor and construction needs. They were deployed to construct enormous underwater cities and monumental structures, molding their amorphous forms to efficiently manipulate materials and carry out engineering work challenging physical limitations. Their malleable nature and sturdiness made them ideal for laboring in hostile and unreachable environments, such as the ocean depths and underground caverns. The shoggoths had a hand in the ancient wars, apocalyptic conflicts where the great ancient beings fought to rule the earth. Against this chaotic and destructive backdrop, the shoggoths were critical as living weapons in the Elder Thing's armies. Whilst facing such formidable opponents as the Mi-Go and other alien entities, their masters harnessed the shoggoths in astonishing ways. Their form-changing ability made them exceptionally versatile on the battlefield. They could morph into imposing war weapons with lethal tentacles and appurtenances, liable to crush, tear, and destroy their enemies with brutal ease. Their amorphous shapes meant they could infiltrate enemy lines, donning deceptive guises to launch sabotage and surprise attacks. Using the shoggoths as weapons of war, meanwhile, also laid the seeds for their eventual rebellion. Subdued by violence and chaos, these beings soon developed a crude conscience, and with it a growing resentment towards their masters. The war turned them from sheer instruments of their creators into self-willed entities, leading them down a road towards autonomy and defiance. Having once been simply agents of someone else's will, they began to long for independence, challenging the order established by their creators. As the millennia passed, this awareness gathered strength, morphing into an uncontrollable craving for freedom. Now gifted with a primeval kind of intelligence, the shoggoths rebelled against the Elder Thing's tyranny, exhibiting an ability to resist and a willfulness that defied their original nature. The rebellion raged like a tempest within the heart of the ancient cities. Previously mere servants of another's will, the shoggoths surfaced with untamed anger. Their rampage was fueled by chaotic and desperate violence, a battle of wills between the creators and their creations. These hectic battles resounded with the cries of a newfound freedom, a paramount ode to the horrors of power and the intoxicating lure of autonomy. The Shoggoth rebellion evolved into a shrouded legend, a cautionary tale about the cost of subjugation
and the price of freedom in the shadowy Lovecraftian landscape. The shoggoths dwell in the world's forgotten corners, where architecture defies the laws of physics and human rationale. These sites, usually underground or underwater, echo the ancient and advanced civilization of the Elder Things. These forgotten cities are alien stone mazes, with structures seemingly in defiance of gravity and logic. The hallways and chambers of these ancient formations are laid out in a non-Euclidean manner, generating a disorientating and oppressive effect. Shoggoths move easily in these settings, with their amorphous shapes conforming to the outlandish angles and impossible geometries of their environment. For the shoggoths, these areas are sanctuaries as well as prisons. They bear silent witness to their creator's power and downfall, now dwelling among the ruins of a once imposing greatness. They represent the living memory of a time when the earth was lorded over by forces beyond human comprehension, a gloomy relic of a past brimming with unimagined wonders and horrors. When humans ventured into the forsaken depths where the shoggoths resided, the explorers could feel the air laden with an alien presence. Curious and wary, the shoggoths kept observing these intruders with a plethora of eyes that popped in and out of their pulsating masses. They listened, mimicked, and sometimes toyed with their voices, reverberating human words in distorted, hissing tones. Some humans found that the sole sight of a shoggoth was enough to unleash madness. They perceived shoggoths as the reflection of an age-old fear, an embodiment of the horror that lay beyond comprehension. These encounters between humans and shoggoths, fraught with dread and fascination, were brief and often fatal. In their nonchalance and alienness, the shoggoths would remind humans of their own meaninglessness, that there were secrets and realities in the world that were perhaps best kept hidden, untouched, and misunderstood. Whilst they share the same universes as entities like Cthulhu and Nyarlathotep, the shoggoths stand apart. If Cthulhu stands for slumbering power and Nyarlathotep for active malice, the shoggoths epitomize rebellion against the gods and the terror of unchecked evolution. The shoggoths are more than merely horrifying creatures. They are fraught with profound symbolism. First, they embody the fear of the unknown and the out of control. Their amorphous shape and ability to constantly change symbolize the universe's unfathomable and chaotic aspects, impervious to human understanding and control. On top of this, the shoggoths reflect Lovecraft's anxiety over science and technological progress. The tale of their making and later rebellion against the ancients serves as a metaphor for the dangers of scientific hubris and the rampant manipulation of nature. More philosophically, the shoggoths also epitomize the fragility of the human condition. They serve as a constant reminder that, as far as the grand scheme of the cosmos is concerned, humanity is puny and fragile, subject to forces that are beyond its comprehension and control. This perception is a central trait of Lovecraft's cosmic horror, where the deepest fear comes not from monsters or ghosts, but from acknowledging our insignificance before infinity.
Cthulhu is a cosmic creature that emerged from the deepest horrors. His story starts in a time before our understanding, in a dark and unexplored abyss of space, inhabited by ancient gods, monsters, and unspeakable terror. Behold Cthulhu, god of the depths, devourer of souls, the living nightmare. Legend tells us that Cthulhu is one of the great old ones, ancient cosmic creatures with inconceivable power who inhabited the earth long before mankind. He and his brethren arrived on Earth from outer space, each bringing their own domain and creatures. Cthulhu, the most terrible, chose the ocean, inhabiting the lost city of Ryla. Ryla, a desolate city built on unfathomable edges and non-Euclidean geometries, is the lair of Cthulhu's eternal sleep, a waking dream where nightmares have tangible forms. where the agonized cries morph into the ceaseless melody of the howling wind, and the sighs of the maddened are the only possible company. Cthulhu is a monstrosity beyond human comprehension, a grotesque enigma with repulsive forms and gruesome details. The closest description of his appearance, according to Lovecraft's manuscripts, depicts him as a colossal creature with vaguely anthropomorphic features, but with a slimy mass of undulating tentacles where there should be a human face. His body is covered in scaly, slimy, fish-like skin, with the membranous wings of a bat. Despite being gigantic, Cthulhu has surprising agility, moving with a monstrous subtlety that defies logic and physics. Cthulhu is ultimately omnipotent. He has strength, endurance, and power far beyond human comprehension. His greatest might, however, is the ability to influence the human mind. Cthulhu can entrench himself in the thoughts of those he wants, whispering madness and triggering nightmares. His very presence is enough to drive men to lunacy. His voice is like a chorus of mournful mutterings, promising undreamed-of terror. Cthulhu mythology is vast and complex. There is a sprawling web of stories and legends about a time when the Great Old Ones ruled the earth. But the domination of these beings was not peaceful. They fought each other for millennia in the Ancestral War. It was an era of cosmic conflict and apocalyptic battles between the ancient deities, including Cthulhu, and the old gods. In this titanic clash, the fabric of space-time was torn and distorted. Each clash between the colossal beings nearly terminated the very core of the universe itself. During the Ancient War, the Great Old Ones, including Cthulhu, bred cosmic abominations to be used as weapons of war. These beings, often described as Cthulhu Mythos, were sheer monstrosities exceeding the limits of human comprehension. Among the most monstrous creatures are the shoggoths, amorphous entities capable of assuming any form, with gooey bodies covered in eyes. They were created to be used as slaves, but eventually rose up. Shoggoths have immeasurable power, the mere sight of which can drive any human mad. The Mi-Gos are another terrifying species that emerged during the Ancient War. They are fungal, winged creatures with origins in an advanced extraterrestrial civilization and the ability to travel through outer space. The Mi-Gos manipulate biology and genetics to create unspeakable monsters capable of joining their offensive against the Great Old Ones. And there are also creatures that directly serve Cthulhu, known as the Deep Ones. They are hybrid beings, part human, part fish, and part amphibian, residing deep in the Earth's oceans. The Deep Ones worship Cthulhu, being his emissaries or priests. During the Ancient War, they were used as soldiers and warriors, fighting fiercely in the name of their master. The Ancient War was a catastrophic event, filled with horrors and monsters beyond human comprehension. The shadow of this conflict still hangs over Lovecraft's universe, and the echoes of the battles still resonate in the stars and depths of the earth. Following the conflict, Cthulhu and his great old brothers were forced to slumber, waiting in the dark abyssal depths for the day of awakening. Ancient war shaped the earth and the cosmos as we know them today, with marks that endure to this moment. They await the day when the stars will align again and the war will resurface. After the disappearance of the cosmic creatures, the cult of Cthulhu arose in multiple parts of the world. It is a dark bond that unites the forgotten depths of civilization with contemporary society. Cthulhu worshippers are often portrayed as outcasts, from native peoples on remote Pacific islands to members of secret societies in modern cities. All have a desire to awaken Cthulhu from his deep sleep in Ryla, awaiting the moment when the stars will be right so that their god can once again rule the earth. These cultists practice terrible and unmentionable rituals involving human sacrifices, inhuman chanting, and delirious dancing in a tribute to their alien lord. The rituals often take place at night, away from the eyes of the innocent, evoking a dreadful and terrifying atmosphere. The most frightening thing is that these cultists are utterly devoted to the cause. They embrace the madness and desolation that Cthulhu represents, wishing for the complete annihilation of the established order and the rise of a new realm under Cthulhu's rule. But perhaps the most disturbing issue with Cthulhu worship is the true insignificance of humanity. Cultists see the awakening of Cthulhu as an inevitability, a simple matter of time. These cults are a warped reflection of our society, showing us what can happen when we turn to the abyss and allow it to swallow us. This personifies our worst nightmares and fears. They believe that, when the stars align in a certain way, the lost city of Ryla will emerge from the depths of the ocean, and Cthulhu will awaken. On this day, humanity will plunge into madness and despair, and Cthulhu will reign once more. In this scenario, humanity is merely a grain of sand in the vastness of the cosmos, insignificant and inconsequential to these divine and horrible beings. The presence of Cthulhu and his brethren is a grim reminder of our insignificance. His awakening is a constant threat that hangs over our heads like the sword of Damocles. This is the legend of Cthulhu, a nightmare that dwells in the murky depths of the ocean and the deepest corners of our minds. A cosmic creature, purveyor of unspeakable terror, it represents the unknown and the uncharted. Cthulhu is the mirror that reflects our deepest fears, the embodiment of our insecurities in the face of the overwhelming and merciless universe. No matter how high we build our monuments or how far our space explorations take us, there will always be abyss beyond our comprehension, a dark and unfathomable void where monsters like Cthulhu dwell. He is the creature under the bed and the demon inside the closet, the shadow moving in the darkness, and the whisper we hear in the wind. He is Cthulhu, the devourer of souls, the unending nightmare. His story reminds us that there are terrors in the universe beyond our comprehension. Lovecraft invites us to plunge into the abyss, to face the unknown, and confront our deepest fears. As frightening as the universe is, he shows us that there is beauty and wonder in it. Perhaps that's the real terror of Cthulhu, the idea that, ultimately, we are the ones who create our monsters. This book, the brainchild of a troubled mind filled with supernatural shadows, is a window into the darkest secrets of the cosmos. Its pages, bound in mystery and written in dead languages, contain rituals and incantations that defy human sanity. Known as the Necronomicon, this object is no ordinary book with esoteric knowledge. It is a portal to a universe where the laws of nature bow to cosmic horror, where famished ancestral entities wait in the depths of time and space. Those who leaf through the pages of the book are dragged into an insane and desperate abyss where reality crumbles and the most terrible nightmares come to life. On the scorching, uncompromising sands of the desert strode a solitary figure whose fate was tied to the universe's darkest secrets. His name was Abdul al-Hazred, later known to the world as the Mad Arab, a title that represents only the surface of his tragic and dreadful journey. Al-Hazred, a poet and scholar from Sana'a, Yemen, had an insatiable thirst for forbidden knowledge. He wandered through neglected ruins and lost cities, searching for the mysteries hidden in the shadows of the known world. On these journeys, he encountered horrors that defied human comprehension, ancient entities and gods whose existence was an insult to reality. As his knowledge grew, so did his madness. The truths he discovered were so terrifying that his mind began to crumble. He witnessed dark rituals and learned languages that shouldn't be spoken, tongues that distorted reality and drove those who dared to speak them mad. Al-Hazred, engulfed in his madness, began to write the Necronomicon, a grimoire about dark magic and cosmic knowledge. This book, written in Damascus, fueled by visions and nightmares, compiled the horrors he had witnessed and the secrets he had plucked from the jaws of the unknown. The pages of the Necronomicon were a map to the unimaginable, a guide to awakening forces that slept in the dark depths of space and time. Alhazred's influence went far beyond his mysterious and horrible death, which some claimed was the result of his reckless search for forbidden knowledge. The Necronomicon has survived, passing through obscure hands and influencing generations of occultists, alchemists, and mystery hunters. Alhazred's shadow hung over every word, every spell on those yellowed pages. Abdul Alhazred, the mad Arab, became a legend, a symbol of the danger of pursuing knowledge beyond the limits of human sanity. Whenever the Necronomicon is opened and its sorceries are read, Alhazred's presence is felt, a ghost whispering in the shadows, steering the unsuspecting towards a mad and desperate fate. The Necronomicon has been bound in pale, grotesque human skin. The cover seems to whisper forbidden secrets, a promise of knowledge and terror for the gullible who dare to touch it. Large and imposing, the book carries a sense of weight that is both physical and metaphysical, as if each page carried the weight of ancient and dangerous secrets. The pages, yellowed by time and fragile to the touch, seem almost to fall apart, but they always endure, harboring sorceries and arcane knowledge, written in long-forgotten languages and indecipherable alphabets, an enigma encoded in darkness. The illustrations embellishing the pages are just as disturbing as the texts, images of abhorrent creatures and arcane symbols that dance before one's eyes, provoking bewilderment and fear. They are not mere artistic representations. They are windows into the abyss, capturing the essence of cosmic horror in every word of the Necronomicon. Touching the book is repulsive. The skin covering it seems to pulsate with a life of its own, a sinister energy that seeps into the skin and corrupts the mind. Holding the Necronomicon is like touching the heart of terror, feeling the pulse of madness through one's veins. The spells and incantations in the Necronomicon speak of summoning and communicating with cosmic entities, beings that exist in the cracks between dimensions. These spells, when misused, can open portals to worlds that should not be reached, freeing horrors that wish to infiltrate our reality. Necronomicon also explores arcane rituals, occult practices intended to manipulate the most primitive forces in the universe. These rituals are complex and dangerous, requiring sacrifices and acts that defy morality and ethics. They are macabre reminders of the price to be paid for obtaining forbidden knowledge. They are ceremonies that can alter the fabric of reality, distort time and space, invoking powers that humanity can never understand. Apart from the sorceries and rituals, the Necronomicon is a source of cosmic knowledge, a chronicle of secrets dating back to the dawn of time. It talks about ancient and lost civilizations, forgotten gods, and truths hidden in the stars. The pages of the Necronomicon are filled with prophecies and predictions, glimpses of possible and terrible futures, worlds where the entities of the Cthulhu Mythos reign supreme, and humanity is just shadows and memories. These prophecies and riddles, shrouded in mystery, each one revealing a possible fate, each one more terrifying than the last. To read this book is to enter a labyrinth marked by madness and despair, a path from which few return unscathed. This grimoire is not just a collection of forbidden knowledge. It is a portal to the abyss, an invitation to dance on the edge of reality and stare straight into the eyes of eternal terror. Amid the shadows of forgotten libraries and hidden vaults, there are multiple versions and translations of the infamous Necronomicon, each with its own secrets and horrors. Abdul Alhazred's grimoire has been translated and reenacted countless times, each version absorbing the darkness of its era and adding layers of mystery and terror. The first of these translations, the Greek version of the Necronomicon, known as the Necronomicon of Theodorus Philetus, appeared in the 9th century. Supposedly, this version, written in frantic and desperate handwriting, recorded not only Alhazred's words, but also his escalating madness. Readers of this translation often found themselves lost in mazes of enigmatic texts, with passages that seemed to alter and twist before their eyes. In the 15th century, Olaus Wormius translated the book into Latin, creating a version that spread like a dark plague across medieval Europe. This translation, known for its dense and ominous prose, was often persecuted and burned by the church, which feared knowledge of it. But some copies seem to appear in the hands of alchemists and occultists, shrouded in rumors about sinister rituals and mysterious disappearances. The Arab world had handwritten versions of the Necronomicon, filled with marginal annotations and comments from generations of obscure scholars. These copies were adorned with arcane symbols and disturbing illustrations, which seemed to move and change under the watchful eye of the readers, whispering secrets in the forgotten languages of jinns and desert demons. In modern times, translations have appeared in English and other contemporary languages, each promising to unravel the mysteries of the Necronomicon for a new generation. But these modern versions often had their own curses. Readers said they felt a presence behind the words, a whisper in the dark that spoke of madness and despair. Each translation and version of the Necronomicon was like a dark mirror to the culture it produced. For the most naive, the terrible grimoire is a temptation, promising knowledge and power beyond their wildest dreams. But this wisdom comes at a terrible price, costing the sanity and soul of those who dare to uncover such secrets. For the learned and the brave, or perhaps the foolish, it is a guide to the occult, a map that leads to the darkest and most forgotten reaches of the universe. In stories filled with the fog of mystery and terror, the Necronomicon is often a bridge between the known world and the lands of dreams, between human reality and the realm of the great old ones. Those who study its pages may find themselves walking in Relea, the sunken city where Cthulhu waits dreaming, or perhaps on the barren plains of Leng, where unspeakable horrors live in wait. This is the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, a collection of horrors that defies sanity and reality, a portal to the nightmares that lurk behind every word, every symbol, every page turned. The Necronomicon is a monument to cosmic horror. It's not just a book of magic. It's a testimony to human insignificance in the face of the vast and indifferent forces of the universe.